guess what? Everyone you will ever meet knows something that you don't. This is a great quote by Bill Nye, and it's a wonderful quote to open up this speech with. My name is Raven Shree, and I'm here to talk about listening to understand, which is a masterful communication skill that we all need some brushing up on. Today, I am going to be sharing some information with you to help cultivate and inspire active listening in your life so that you can cultivate the relationships and conversations that you have with others. Active listening is a communication skill that we should all be practicing. It is essential for leadership, conflict resolution, change management, and just good old-fashioned relationship building. Many of you may have heard of the quote that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak. That can be challenging for many of us, myself included. So what I want to do today is share 5 easy tips for you to incorporate into your conversations to help develop active listening with the intention to understand others. And that will support developing rapport and ultimately support your relationships in your life, both in work and outside of work. The first tip, and it sounds really basic, but sometimes going back to the basics is exactly what we need. And that is to minimize distractions. It is so easy to engage in not listening when we're in our meetings, especially when we are in a remote environment and we are just surrounded by so many distractions. So one way to combat this is to simply put away distractions before a call so that you can be fully present and that you can participate with the fullness of your being. Your listening truly is a gift to others, so give it fully. The second tip is to have a notepad handy. This can help you not only with active listening, but can also help minimize interruptions if that is something that you tend to do, which I have been guilty of from time to time. If the speaker says something that you want to comment on or that you have concerns about, just simply jot those down on your notepad and then come back to giving the listener your attention. This will really help develop rapport and trust between you and the other individual. And then when it's your turn to speak, reference your notepad, bring up your items, and when the speaker sees that you did that, that just really helps them know, wow, they really listened, and that gives them some good feelings. The third tip is to listen to the whole message. So conversations are filled with a lot of nuances and innuendos and nonverbal cues. So when you're listening to somebody, listen to not only what they're saying, but what they're not saying. Even the tone of somebody's voice can be an indicator of something bubbling under the surface that they might not necessarily be saying in words, but it can be a clue of something that you might want to explore with a little bit more curiosity. Also, if your meetings are online, using your video camera is very helpful. This helps you listen and see and hear a whole message. You can see body language, smiles, frowns, disengaged listeners, and that will once again open up more information for you about the individual and the topic that you're discussing. The fourth tip is to paraphrase what you heard. Once you're done listening to the speaker, paraphrasing back what you heard is a really valuable step in clarifying understanding. And it's not about word by word repetition of what you heard, but pinpointing key topics that you heard in your own language back to the listener. It's important to not interject your opinion at this point. That comes later. This is about validating your understanding, letting the listener know you heard them, you understand where they're going, where they're coming from, and it sets a really good foundation for the next step in listening to understand, and that's asking open-ended questions. Rather than asking questions that solicit a yes or a no response, which will keep the conversation at a very surface level, asking an open-ended questions We'll ask the speaker to divulge more, to share more of themselves. For example, what I heard you say about your workflow was XYZ, but I didn't hear you speak about your pain points or your timeline for implementation. Can you expand upon that a bit more? And so this encourages the speaker to share more. It develops the conversation and the subject matter, and it might make the conversation a bit more fun to engage in as well. Active listening is a skill that requires constant vigilance. The Dalai Lama was quoted as saying, "When you talk, you're only repeating what you know. But if you listen, you might learn something new." And so, your assignment is to engage in these active listening skills in your workday. Before a meeting, put away distractions, have a notepad handy, and be available to listen. Practice paraphrasing back what you've heard in your conversation to develop that practice technique. Play around with asking open-ended questions so that you can learn more from your coworkers, from your manager, from your clients. Every interaction with another being is a relationship, and relationships thrive when there is rapport and alignment and cohesion and understanding. And developing these 5 active listening skills with the intention to understand can help you cultivate the relationships in your life, both here at work and outside of work. And in the process, you might learn some new things about others and maybe even yourself. To conclude, I will share with one more quote, and this one's by Oprah. Listen, pay attention, and treasure every moment. Thank you.